It's time for the Covrprice Top 10, the top 10 most sold comic books, and it's all aboard the spec train. Up next on this video from Bronzeville Comics. Hey there, panelologists. This is Jim from Bronzeville Comics coming to you with another video. And before we get started, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe. We are this close. Actually, by the time I drop this video, we might be at 5,000 subscribers. Really close. I appreciate everybody who's done that. We're going to be doing a 5,000 subscriber giveaway. I'm going to be announcing that. That'll be running during the month of December. Also follow us on social media. I'm on Instagram at Bronzeville_comics, whatnot at Bronzeville_comics. We do sales Monday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern time. And if you're not yet signed on to whatnot, you can use the link in the description of this video to get $10 off your first purchase. It doesn't have to be with me. And also in the description of this video is a link to the eBay store that I have, as well as my email. So thanks for stopping by. Let's take a look at this kooky list. We're going to just jump into the waves and take a look. And we're going to number 10 on the list, and it is an old favorite, Nova. Number 1, the first appearance of Richard Rider Nova from 1976. A couple of things. There was a What If episode that refers to the Nova Corps. I doubt we'd see Richard Rider show up in that regard, but you never know. What If is coming out. First episode on December 22nd, and then it's going to be 9 episodes, one a day until the end of the year. That's going to be fun. I think it's 9. I do think, however, the speculation here might be because of some confusion between Richard Rider Nova and Frankie Ray, Herald of Galactus Nova. Because people who speculate on comic books don't always know everything they need to know about comic books. They hear Nova, they see Nova, and they buy Nova. So this book has been around for a while. This was a book that has been like on everybody's list. Everybody knows that Richard Rider's coming to the MCU. He's going to be there any minute, but we have yet to see him. So let's take a look at the cover price. This book is a Bronze Age book. So let's see. The most sold is a 9.6. I think that's fair to look at. And we see that it spiked up. The 9.6 is up to like $735 in April of 2022 and has been on the downtrend ever since. Most recent sales in about the $300 range. And you can see here the difference between fixed price and auction. Somebody bought a fixed price book at $375, maybe just really wanting something that was Nova related. And then the 2 auctions on the same day after that, and having them the same day might not have helped. Went for $287, $271. Time of day often has something to do with that. But we can see $250 to $300 lately. Maybe a little bit of an uptick. Obviously, way down from its height. I mean, about 60% reduction in price. We can see there are plenty of copies out there. There are 8,200 universals, 556. Only 6.8% of them are graded at a 9.8. I bought some copies of this book and I did sell some copies of this book in 2021, 2022. I think I still have at least 1 graded copy left. So let's look at number 9. And speaking of Nova, the first appearance of Nova, a different Nova. There are plenty of Novas. It is the Fantastic Four 244, the first appearance of Frankie Ray as Nova, a Herald of Galactus. And we can see this book in a 9.8 at about $500, $100 in high grade. High grade raws in the $50 range. So let's take a look at this. And we'll take a look at the 9.8 to see how that has trended over time. This is a book people have been speculating on for a long time. And part of the reason, we're going to look at the direct because it's just more data than the newsstand. So we'll see. Look at this. It had a big bump and it kind of stayed there in the $800 to $900 range throughout most of 2022, and then boom, down to about $400. Still a pricey book in a 9.8 for a book from as recently as 1982. Still, I guess, technically Bronze Age, but very late bronze. And then the last sale for $600. I know a lot of people in the community have been speculating on this book, as well as the other Heralds of Galactus. And the talk of a possible female Herald of Galactus, again, only rumor, to show up in the MCU has kind of driven the prices of this book. It's one of those things where it's the anticipation of the hype before actual news. So everybody's trying to get their copies in anticipation of the books going up. I'm not sure it's going to go up much higher, even if we do see Frankie Ray portraying Nova. Now, the one thing is I guess the kind of assumption going around about the Nova spec is that will be the initial Herald of Galactus that they'll use. But the only way that makes sense is Galactus would have already had to come to Earth. And kind of, Nova would have had to, Frankie Ray would have had to like almost sacrifice herself to be a herald in order to keep Galactus from destroying Earth. I'm not sure if it makes sense for Galactus to already come to Earth, and, and she also was romantically linked with Johnny Storm. So it's a possibility, but I don't see how the story necessarily plays out as that being the first act of the story. So we'll see. But that is Nova Spec. And let's go to number 8 on the list. And where are we? Number 8 on the list. And once again, the first appearance of Binary. Carol Danvers as Binary in Uncanny X-Men 164. This is from, it's been a few weeks already. If you haven't seen the Marvels, be prepared for spoiler warnings. We see Binary in the post-credit sequence as Maria Rambeau in an alternate reality has the identity of Binary. And this book, again, it's about a $40+ book in high grade. Very fine, about $20. I just sold one for 20, and 250-ish for the 9.8. We'll go back because this is an established book. And this is another one people have been speculating on for a while. It's come to fruition. How it's going to play out in the storyline remains to be seen. Oh, 164, not 264. My bad. I had Fantastic Four, 244 on the brain. There we go. And we'll look at the direct edition. And we talked about this is, again, it's about the 9.8 is what we're going to look at. And it's, one just sold for 300. Ooh, do I want to sell my 9.8? I'm trying to collect like all these X-Men keys in high grade, and I just got a few 9.8s back. But it did jump over over $500, up to $600. That's present dollar value. Up over $500 back in 2018. And then it went back to normal and then boomed with the comic boom with no real news to drive speculation. And then it had come down, and it's like under $150, and now it's up over $250. I think it's still a good solid key. The one thing about this book, and I did show this in one of my YouTube shorts, and I'm trying to do more of those, especially related to the hot books, is the comic I just read. A lot of storyline going on at the time, but this was a highly printed book. There are a lot of copies out there, and there's only 2,100 graded, but nearly a quarter of them are 9.8. So you're not really going to grade this much lower than, 9s. And we can see that, 94, 92, 90, very few copies under that, which makes sense, because it's not really worth a whole heck of a lot unless it's close to a 9.8. 9.4s, 9.6s still have decent value, but after that, you're not getting much more than case cost. Let's go to number 7. Number 7 on the list is Fantastic Four 257. It's the destruction of Tarnox 4, the Skrull throne world, devoured by Galactus. Frankie Ray involved in that, a really cool John Byrne cover from 1983. You can see it's, I have to think this has something to do with Nova Spec, Will they combine Galactus with the Kree or the Skrull Empire storyline? Possibly. You're going to have to introduce him in some fashion. Copy's about $10, you know, $5 to $10. Never been a big key. And you can see even here, the 9.8 is under $100. I'm a little bit surprised on this, but I guess I think the really cool Nova image on the cover. I think that must be what is driving this book. Let's take a look at the historical 9.8. There are only 234 copies on the census. 45% of them are 9.8s. And it really has to be a 9.8 to be worth anything. It did jump up into the 150-ish range and kind of bounced around a lot. You know, $80 for the last couple of sales. So, yeah, this is a book. I guess if I find a copy that I think is minty, I could get it graded just to have a solid 9.8 of the book. And I think the cover helps a lot on this one. Let's move on to number 6. And number 6 is Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars number 7, the first appearance of Julia Carpenter as Spider-Woman. This is really the only book that's surging because of the Madam Web trailer, because that trailer just had you going, huh? What is that about? But we're all books in the $20 range, $15 to $20. And again, 9.8's over $200. So really, if you're looking for a graded book, it has to be high grade. And the deal with this is, of course, this has a lot of copies out there. This was a highly printed book, you know, a big crossover. So I don't know how many copies were printed, but there were a lot. You can see the 2,600 copies on the census, 30 of them 9.8s, and it's the $230 range. That's a healthy 9.8. And we can see, you know, it was kind of, you know, it jumped up. There's on and off been Julia Carpenter spec for a while. Jumped up in 2018 over $200, then came back down under 100, and then we had the comic boom, and it jumped up to 384. And it stayed there through most of the boom and has come back down. And then I think when Sydney Sweeney was rumored to play her, jumped back up over 250. And so this has been up and down. I think it's a solid book because not only is it the first appearance of Julia Carpenter's Spider-Woman, but I have to believe there's a segment of collectors, and let me know if any of you are, but there have to be a segment of collectors that want the entire run of Secret Wars in a 9.8. I think because that's also attainable. 12 issues. And, you know, for a lot of 80s kids, it's an indelible part of their comic reading childhood. So, but the Julia Carpenter spec is what's driving this. As we know, Sony spec is a dangerous place to be long term. So, I did get a nice copy of this in a collection recently, not a 9.8. Does have, I think, one spine tick. It's actually, I'd probably be like a 9.2. I'm not going to send it in and get graded. Okay, let's move to number 5 on the list. Fantastic 448, the first appearance of Silver Surfer and Galactus. Silver Surfer news, and we'll get to more of that later. This is a perennial key. It's kind of amazing that a book this old, it's a book you have to shell out $1,000 for. Somebody got a near mint copy for $81 and a very fine copy for $57. Those are mistakes. Probably facsimiles even of these. But let's take a look at the graded data. And Fantastic 448, first of that trilogy that introduces Silver Surfer and Galactus. Now, the one thing is issue 48, there was like, I believe there's a warehouse find. So there are, I mean, look, there are 8,000 copies in the census. We're not going to look at the 9.8 because that's really unattainable. I mean, that's a, what, nearly $100,000 book. Let's look at a 6.5. Only because I have a 6.5. I also have a 7.5. And I got it as part of a collection, so I paid like $4 for it. So, but this book, this is one of those ones where like, and this is very indicative of this book in almost any grade. It surged during the comic boom because at that point where the MCU was hot and heavy, we had just come to the end of phase 3 and the Infinity Saga going into phase 4. What's next? Fantastic Four is coming next. Silver Surfer has to come. Everybody wants their Silver Surfer. $5,800 right? $5,800, and then correction down to like $2,000. We can see the most recent sale on eBay at auction was $2,000, Heritage auction for $2,400, but the fixed prices $2,495, $2,500, $2,695. Auctions are, when the market is dropping, auctions are dangerous. If you're patient, especially for a big boy book like this, you might be willing to wait. But I mean, you're talking about, this book has dropped by more than 50% since the comic boom. I think it'll take a while. It's going to be a key. It's always going to be a key. Silver Surfer is one of the more popular Marvel characters, but we'll see what happens in the MCU. Let's go to number 4 on the list. Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars number 8. The first appearance of the black costume. Not sure. This is a perennial key. Not sure why it's making the list, why there's so many copies being sold. But it's a book you have to pay well over $100 for in any decent grade. And we'll talk about the 9.8, about a $500-$600 book in a 9.8. So let's take a look at that. Again, a lot of them out there. I'm sure they're going to be more on the census than number 7 because people will grade this in lower grades. Not in lowest of grades, but, in 7s and 8s probably. And the newsstand does get a little bit of premium. 24,000 universal copies. 22% of them 9.8s, 22 9.9s, and 4.10s. 4.10. So $575 is the FMV for the 9.8. And that's the book that has the most sales. Still, I mean, look, it's, selling down to a 6.0 for $100. So it's, people want a copy of this. More discriminating collectors or wealthier collectors want the 9.8. But an interesting look at this trend, right? $300, then the comic boom comes and it jumps, right, almost immediately from $425 to $860. And it hasn't really corrected that much. It really, in the last 6-8 months, it's had a little bit more of a steep decline, but we're talking about it's currently about $600. And, that's right before the pandemic. It was, at like $425. So it's still, like 25% above what or more, 30% above what it was selling for. And you could see pretty solid of over 500 almost every sale, a couple auctions in the mid 400s, a 680 eBay sale, 552 at auction, 600. It's a perennial key. People love the cover. Obviously, Spider-Man collectors, the black suit, the symbiote storyline, all adds up to this just being a perennial key. I would be a little bit wary just on the trends of more correction of this book, just because there's so many out there. Okay. Let's go to number 3, Alien Legion number 1. This is on the list for the second week. About $15 to $20 for a high grade copy. Recently, a 9.8 sold for $325. This is a book in the Epic imprint from Marvel in 1984. Alien Legion number 1. This has been optioned, but we haven't heard really any more news about that. This is a book you might have been able to find in dollar bins, right? If we look at the 9.8 over time, right? Not a lot of sales. Not a lot of sales. There are how many on the census? 60 on the census. Half of them are 9.8. So part of the thing is there aren't many 9.8s out there, but there are enough raw copies, right? That if people think they have 9.8s, it makes sense to send them in. About $150 book we see here in a 9.8. I'm not sure what Covrprice's data, where they're getting the $325, unless they have information that the $395 sale was actually sold for $325. That would be a very robust sale. And that falls in line with when the news hit. So, yeah. What can we get this for on eBay? I haven't looked at any books in that regard right now. But again, there are very few CGC 9.8s in existence. So, hey, if you have an issue, dig it out and get it graded. $175 at auction. Not Alien Legion Grimrod. Alien Legion 9.2. Yeah, there's only one. Looks like only one 9.8 available on eBay. So again, not a lot of them. Just search out high grade raw. Okay, number 2 on the list. This is going to be fun, right? Number 2 on the list is Hercules: Twilight of the Gods. Number 4, and it is the first appearance of Juno, the granddaughter of Hercules, becomes the new Herald of Galactus as the new Silver Surfer. And of course, there are rumors that the Silver Surfer in the MCU is going to be the Silver Surfer, and it's going to be a woman. Now, hand to God, I wasn't really familiar with this character. When I heard people talking about and posting on social media, female Silver Surfer, it's going to be Juno, I thought they meant that the character is going to be portrayed by Elliot Page. I don't think if they're going to go this route, I'm not sure they're going to do Elliot Page. People going to speculate. They're going to jump on it. There's going to be FOMO. There's no 9/8. Who would have gotten this book graded? Now Raws are going for $30, $40. Hercules: Twilight of a God, number 4. I'm very skeptical of this being the way the MCU would head. Somebody's listed for $79, $39 for auction for this set, $60 for auction for issues 2, 3, and 4, not even issue number 1. Nobody cares about issues 2 and 3. You get those for $1. Now, that being said, if I saw this book in a dollar bin, I'd grab it and I'd probably sell it. If I had this, just laying around, because this has been worth nothing historically. I mean, even if we look at, because we can use Covrprice to look at historical raw sales data, right? So last couple of weeks, a couple $45 sales for near mint, $15. And before that, $3.9, $1.49, $1. Right? Even high grade books, $3. And these are people paying $3 on eBay where you have to pay for shipping. So, I guess if you want to, folks that wanted to fill out their collection, fine. And we'll quickly go on to number 1 because it's Hercules: Twilight of a God, number 1, which is the first appearance of the Earth 892, 829 Silver Surfer, Kawan, and Juno, who later becomes the Silver Surfer in issue number 4 of this series. No graded sales, $20 book. I guess, it was probably, there were probably a lot of low eBay listings initially, people just grabbing it up. I would go for this book even less, because if they do have a female Silver Surfer, number 4 is a pretty decent cover. This one, I don't think I have this in a collection I picked up, but they're going to be out there, and this is people scouring through back issue bins for this, I'm sure, over the last week. We'll see what comes of it. I am, as I said, very skeptical about a female Silver Surfer. I'm not sure that Frankie Ray makes sense as Nova, but we'll have to see how it plays out, because Marvel seems like they're moving potentially away from Kang and maybe towards Doom. So when you're talking about Fantastic Four, are they going to continue going Galactus route? Or are they going to have to go Doom route, or just maybe introduce Doom and do their own Doom projects? There's a lot they need to tie together. And I think they're going to spend the next several months kind of going through the writing process, because reevaluating the box office numbers from the movies that they've had. And I'm going to say, I enjoyed most of the movies, right? I thought the Marvels was decent. I enjoyed Quantumania quite a bit. Guardians of the Galaxy was great. I even enjoyed, more so on a second viewing, Thor: Love and Thunder. But the box office numbers are the box office numbers, right? And it also is what's happening to the industry as a whole, and rising ticket prices, etc. But that being said, I think Marvel's going to have to just kind of reevaluate where they're going next. Are they going to build towards a multiversal thing? And it sounds like they might with Deadpool 3. They're probably hanging a big part of their hat on that, and bring in the X-Men, and then bring in the Fantastic Four, bring in they're tried and true characters who are from other realities, but are essentially the same character. And then just do a whole bunch of mashups and then reset the timeline, recast younger actors in most of the roles, and just kind of go from there. In the meantime, I think James Gunn is sitting there like this going, okay, let me get my DC stuff ready, because it seems as though Gunn and Safran have a lot of ducks lined up in a row. Superman Legacy is ready to start filming. Creature Commandos will be dropping. I think there's an outline. They haven't revealed what everything is yet. And this coming year, 2024, very few movies, superhero movies in the theaters just because of the strikes. We're going to see Deadpool, right? We're going to see the only DC entry is going to be, well, there's going to be no like official DC entries. Creature Commander is going to be on TV. I think the Joker film's coming out, and we've got a couple of Sony Spider-Verse films. Not really the animated Spider-Verse, but we're going to see Madam Web and Kraven. So it's going to be a slow year, but maybe in the comic book marketplace, because you know historically how folks react. If there's delays in this and people start having more disposable income, who knows? They're going to be putting money into books they think are going to rise. Now, there is a bubble in there as well, because who are the end collectors? So anyway, let me know what you think of this list. Obviously, Silver Surfer centric, and we'll see what comes of it. I enjoy making these lists. I hope you enjoy watching them. In the meantime, you can take a look at a couple of my other videos here. And this is Jim saying until next time, enjoy your comics.